But I think just first off, giving you the floor. Obviously, you wrote the article regarding Shane Beamer
Yep.
and potential exit and working to Virginia Tech, and he responded yesterday with the comment, "I haven't talked to Brad Crawford in 2 years, not discrediting his sources, but I have no idea where that came from." Then reemphasized, "This is my dream job." First off, your initial reaction to seeing that and just your thoughts in general.
Yeah, this was a typical Shane Beamer response to a reporter's intel that maybe he disagreed with or didn't want to get out or anything of that like. I'll say this, man. I do not see Shane Beamer leaving South Carolina on his own accord and taking the Virginia Tech vacancy unless the Hokies made him a substantial offer that he couldn't refuse. You don't leave a SEC job for an ACC job unless you have a reason to do so. I never said in that article that Beamer does not want to be at South Carolina. However, there is guaranteed mutual interest from both sides. I talked to 4 different sources on this. They all gave me the same info. I fully believe that Shane is being truthful when he says numerous times that this position at South Carolina is his dream job. But that being said, it doesn't dismiss the fact that there are several folks on Virginia Tech search committee who have Beamer at the top of their list. At least half of those folks in that room now have signed NDAs. They want Shane Beamer in Blacksburg. I just think the Hokies, if they need to get Shane Beamer, if they want to get Shane Beamer, they've got to do everything in their power to go after Shane Beamer, sans letting Jimmy Sexton dictate the terms of a negotiation.
Touched on a lot there that we're going to get into. Jimmy Sexton, obviously, but I think let's start with the pressure at South Carolina.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people in your mentions, just overall from the Virginia Tech, obviously South Carolina side, jumping on you saying, why would he make that jump?
Sure.
Obviously, you've talked to people, even trickling up to me here. There's a lot of pressure in Columbia. And when you see what's coming down the pipe, like we were talking about before we went live, it was fall break. I was down in Tuscaloosa, down in Alabama. And, you're at the tailgate, you're talking to different people. You cut on the South Carolina-Oklahoma game. You see how that's going. Another lackluster offensive performance, which has maybe become a pattern, as you touched on. And then you still have that murderer's row. You host you host Alabama, and then Ole Miss and Texas A&M both on the road. When you look at that stretch, I don't think we'd be having this conversation if there wasn't pressure coming down. Just guess talk about that from the boosters, from the brand new AD, I believe, Jeremiah Donati, just that whole situation.
Yeah, Jeremiah Donati and Shane Beamer's relationship, as far as I can tell, is in step. And Shane mentioned actually on the SEC teleconference call when he called me out individually last night, he said that he respects his AD, talks to him daily. And I believe Shane's being factual about that. I mean, this looks like a 4-8 team, probably going to finish 4-8. They're going to win one of those games in November. Maybe they beat Clemson at the end and finish 5-7. But Shane Beamer here in year 5 is not going to a bowl game. Coming off a 9-4 finish, he got a raise and an extension in January. And that's sort of the thing here why I think Jeremiah Donati, besides the fact that he's a first-year SEC AD and you don't make these kind of hiring and firings in your first year if you want people to like you. Yeah. But Beamer's buyout is $27 million if he was fired right now and took the Virginia. I mean, that's not going to happen. That's too much money for South Carolina to absorb. And I think in theory, if Virginia Tech wanted to get Shane Beamer, they'd have to offer him some kind of compensation package, at least of $27 million, because that's his current buyout. And that's basically what Brent Pry got in total salary, over his 6-year initial deal. So I don't know if the Hokies are willing to pay their next coach, but I have a hard time believing it would be near that $8.1 million figure that Shane Beamer is getting right now. But maybe I'm wrong there.
Now, from your perspective, I guess tying in with that, how do you see a world where obviously you have Jimmy Sexton and they're going to want to make this look nice from both sides, where you're not hiring a firing coach, you're not leaving the South Carolina job. How do you make that work? Because like you said, you're probably going to have to pay a higher penny than 8.1 if you want to make it look like he's making that jump. I don't really know how you make that work.
It would only way it would work is if you had a unanimous choice among that search committee and from Whit Babcock, and everybody in that room wanted Shane Beamer as head coach. And then you have to take, that story you put out last week about the $229 million athletic budget. How much of that is going to be earmarked for football? Because if Shane Beamer's the next coach of Virginia Tech, he's going to need NIL money. He's going to need to hire some home run coordinators to win at a high level in the ACC. I thought it was kind of funny, his immediate response to that question about the article, sort of singling me out. I haven't spoke to Brad Crawford in 2 years. This is what every coach says, Kolby, when a report comes out linking him to another coaching vacancy. And he's, become known a little bit by South Carolina beat writers. I'm a national guy. I'm not in Columbia every day. But he gets agitated by the truth at times, and he gets a little testy several times every season during his press conferences, win or lose. And, Shane Beamer's right. I haven't spoken to him in 2 years. Last time him and I had a face-to-face one-on-one together was at SEC Media Days a couple summers ago. I did not attend July's installment in Atlanta, but it doesn't change the facts. And everyone around the situation in Columbia and in Blacksburg knows this. Shane loves Virginia Tech. It's his alma mater. His father there is synonymous with greatness in Blacksburg. But why would he say any of that publicly while still at South Carolina? Shane's doing what he's supposed to do. He's saying that he has an affinity for South Carolina, and I do believe that. But he would leave for Virginia Tech if the offer was right, and that buyout wasn't $28 million.